This section is on muscle function and attachment. There are a few terms that I'm going to teach you here that are in the manual, and they are origin, insertion, agonist, antagonist, and synergist. So let's go over each one and what they mean. I'm going to use the biceps brachii as a group of muscles and a bicep curl as an exercise to give you an example of the origin and insertion. So basically, when you're doing a biceps curl, what's happening is that there is an anchor point, which is the origin, and then an attachment point, which is the insertion. The insertion point moves. You can see that it moves from this point towards the origin. So where are the biceps inserted into? They're inserted into the radius bone approximately right here. How do you know which one is the radius bone? It's the one on the side of your thumb. And then they are also attached at the top here as the origin point, and that is attached to So let's discuss the difference between the origin and insertion again. So the origin is the place where it's anchored, and it's the non-movable location up here in the case of a biceps curl and the biceps brachii. And then the insertion point is the movable point, and that would be at the radius bone, again in the case of the biceps brachii. So when you perform that biceps curl, what's happening is that the muscle contracts concentrically, pulls on the tendon, and moves your radius bone towards the humerus bone up here. So as you can see, it's important to have an anchor point and a movable point. The next point is prime mover or agonist. So you can either call it an agonist or a prime mover. And the prime mover is actually the muscle that does the bulk of the work. It's the prime player. So in the case of a leg extension, it would be the quadriceps muscle group working. Now, does that mean that there are no other muscles working? No, that's not the case. It just means that the quadriceps are the prime movers. So what is the antagonist? The antagonist is the opposing muscle or the opposite muscle to the quadriceps, and that would be the hamstrings. Now, are the hamstrings always an antagonist muscle group? No. When you're performing a hamstring curl, they're actually the prime mover. So the prime mover changes depending on the exercise. Hopefully that's not too confusing. Then we have the synergist muscle group. So what is a synergist? Basically, a synergist is a helper. So for example, when you're performing a push-up, the pectoralis major is working. However, you also have the triceps acting as a synergist, or when you're performing a dumbbell fly, you have pec major working, but the anterior deltoid is also a synergist muscle. So that covers the agonist, antagonist, synergist, origin, and insertion.